Okay, so usually when we think about fighting something as huge, as complex as terrorism, our minds jump straight to, well, government soldiers, spies, right?
Absolutely. Geopolitics, military strategy, intelligence agencies. That's the standard frame.
Yeah, it feels like this external battle, a problem out there that needs fixing with, force, policy, security.
We look to leaders, to the experts, to manage it all. Believing the answer is, I don't know, better tactics or maybe more drones.
But what if? What if that whole way of thinking, important as it is actually just like half the picture, or maybe even less?
Okay, I'm intrigued. Go on.
What if terrorism isn't just this external thing, but it's also acting like a mirror, a really uncomfortable mirror reflecting something back at us, about us,
Reflecting what, though?
our own inner stuff? Like, what if every single tiny hateful thought, or that anger we hold on to, or that feeling of this isn't fair that we carry, what if that's not just personal?
You mean it connects to the bigger picture?
Exactly. What if it's like a tiny stone, our own little piece, building up this huge, terrifying mosaic of global violence? I
Yeah.
know, it's a pretty radical idea.
It is radical. It really pushes back against how we normally see things, doesn't it?
It totally does. Okay, let's try and unpack this.
Well, what's really fascinating to me here is how it suggests the real fight, the actual fight for peace, might not start on some faraway battlefield.
But where then?
Much closer,
Mm-hmm.
like right inside our own hearts, our own minds.
Huh. So this deep dive, it comes from somewhere pretty unique.
Very unique. It's drawn from this personal, quite spiritual reflection. Found it on a YouTube channel called Meaning and Mystery of Life.
Okay.
And the core argument is, look, it's getting harder and harder to fight terrorism because maybe we're just looking in the wrong place entirely, focusing all our energy outwards.
So it's not just about the usual suspects, politics, military threats, external enemies.
Not primarily, according to this source. It really shifts the whole focus, doesn't it?
Yeah, it seems to be pointing towards the state of the human soul collectively.
Exactly.
So we're going to explore how maybe our own inner battles, the anger, the pride, the fear we all deal with,
Yeah.
how that might actually link up with these bigger patterns of aggression and violence we see globally.
It's a completely different lens, really, asking us to look inside for answers we usually expect from, well, outside forces.
Right. And this is where it starts to get really interesting.
How so?
Well, the source material, the author, they don't really hold back on being vulnerable, which I found honestly really compelling.
Mm-hmm.
They start with this quiet, almost like startling confession, saying that this big question, why is fighting terrorism so hard? It doesn't just pop up when they're watching the news.
Oh, okay.
It also comes up when they look inside at themselves,
Oh.
acknowledging their own shadows, as they put it.
Shadows like doubts, fears.
Yeah, feelings, thoughts, stuff that sometimes felt to them even more frightening, more destructive than any external threat they could point to.
Wow. So it's not just abstract philosophy.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's super personal.
Yeah.
It frames the whole issue not just as political or social, but as something reflecting the kind of the inner state of all of us, the human soul, really.
Precisely. And right after that personal starting point comes this really profound insight. The idea that each one of us is like a drop in the ocean of humanity.
A drop in the ocean.
Oh, that's not just, poetry. It's suggesting a real, tangible interconnectedness.
So what I feel inside doesn't just stay inside me.
That's the idea. Whether it's unresolved pain or anger or resentment, or on the flip side, love, compassion, forgiveness, it doesn't just stay locked away, it sort of ripples out.
Ripples out how?
It contributes to this larger shared thing the source calls collective consciousness.
Collective consciousness. All right, that sounds a bit mystical, maybe.
Well, you could think of it less mystically, maybe more like an energetic field, or like a huge shared emotional atmosphere we all contribute to and draw from.
Right, like how one voice changes the sound of a whole choir.
Exactly that kind of principle. Our inner states, even the subtle ones, are seen as these contributions, influencing the reality we all experience together, globally.
Highlighting that these inner shadows, they're not really isolated at all.
No, they're woven into the bigger fabric, impacting the world in ways we, frankly, barely ever think about.
That's a powerful connection to make, our individual inner life shaping the whole. And to really hammer this home, the author shares this incredibly vivid personal story.
Oh, yeah.
They talk about this time they were sick, like really sick, high fever, stuck in bed, just consumed by inner conflict.
What kind of conflict?
Feeling wronged, betrayed, this deep sense of injustice. Anger, they said, just reigned inside them like a storm they couldn't stop.
Wow, that sounds intense. And this connects back to the main idea.
Yes, this is where the reflection gets really practical, showing
Yeah.
the core idea in action.
Okay.
So the author describes hitting this breaking point, right, in the middle of this feverish, angry state.
And then what?
It was only when they consciously shifted gears, when they started to pray, specifically asking to be freed from the need to blame other people.
Ah, letting go of the blame.
Exactly. That's when something changed. The fever started to break. Their breathing got easier. Body relaxed.
A physical change from an inner shift.
Totally. And in that quiet moment, they had this realization. The physical illness wasn't just random. It was like a direct bodily reflection of that intense inner aggression.
Right. And the source then takes that personal insight.
And scales it up to the global level, arguing that the same principle applies collectively.
So individual anger, individual aggression, when you multiply that by thousands, millions of people.
It doesn't just make one person sick.
No, it coalesces. It finds an external expression. It can manifest as widespread conflict and ultimately as terrorism.
It's a stark connection, isn't it, between our inner world and what happens out there.
It really is. It makes you think.
So yeah, not just the physical sickness, but this deep mirror of an unresolved inner state. And thinking about it that way, the leap from intense personal anger and injustice to, well, collective violence.
Mm-hmm.
It starts to make a kind of chilling sense, doesn't it?
Within this framework, yes.
The source suggests when these really potent energies, anger, injustice, wanting revenge, when they combine and fester and multiply across huge numbers of people.
They don't just stay inside.
No, they literally emerge. They look for an outlet, manifesting as collective aggression, conflict, and, yeah, tragically, terrorism. It's a really uncomfortable idea about where violence actually starts.
Which brings us to a really fundamental question, right?
Which is?
If our thoughts, our emotions carry this kind of vibrational power, if they can actually show up in our physical world, our collective world, then what are we as humanity actually fueling with our day-to-day inner states?
What were you putting out there?
Exactly. The source brings up that ancient wisdom, those who live by the sword shall die by the sword.
A classic.
But then it pushes it further, takes that old saying and gives it this like modern energetic twist, realizing that even a thought is a sword.
Whoa. Okay, unpack that. Even a thought is a sword.
Yeah, that's where it gets really radical. It's arguing that ideas of hatred, wanting revenge, judging others, that need to be right no matter what.
Those aren't just abstract thought.
No. Within this view, they are spiritual weapons. They're energetic forces. And when enough people wield them, consciously or unconsciously...
They contribute to the very conflicts we say we hate.
Precisely.
Wow. Okay, that is a radical reinterpretation. It's not just about the physical violence, then the bombs, the attacks we see.
No, it goes much deeper.
It's suggesting terrorism at its root is maybe the sum total of all these destructive ideas, these emotional swords that just keep repeating the same painful patterns generation after generation.
That's the implication. Each attack isn't just random. It's maybe the latest link in this long, unbroken chain of unresolved hurt, anger, injustice that humanity keeps carrying.
It really makes you rethink the whole nature of the conflict, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And when we wrestle with that tough question, why is it getting harder to fight terrorism? The source says, okay, ask yourself this personally.
What?
Is love growing within me or is fear increasing?
Wow. That's direct.
It's fundamental, cuts right to the core, our deepest motivations. The author observes that the more they personally gave in to fear,
The easier it was to hate.
exactly. Fear whispers these insidious things, doesn't it? It tells you the other, whoever the other is dangerous. Reject them, suppress them, maybe even eliminate them for your own safety.
It's primal.
Very primal. But if it goes unchecked, it becomes this incredibly destructive force.
And by giving into it, we actually end up strengthening the very thing we think we're fighting against.
Yes. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline, isn't it?
Completely counterintuitive.
And the source really drives this home. The
Yeah.
main battle isn't necessarily out there against an external enemy.
It's realizing we might be fueling that enemy.
Yeah, inadvertently contributing, reinforcing that destructive energy through our own unexamined fear, our anger, our judgment.
It shifts the responsibility, doesn't it?
Yeah.
From just them out there to our own inner landscape.
It really does. And there's this powerful example in the source that illustrates this transformation from within.
Okay, tell me.
It's the story of a man who lost his child in a terrorist attack.
Oh, wow. Unimaginable pain.
Immense, just unimaginable. But instead of falling into that, completely understandable pit of hatred and wanting revenge,
He chose something else.
he chose a different path. He started working with what the Source calls inner humility. He consciously made this incredibly hard choice to rise above the immediate urge for retaliation.
What did she say?
He said something like, "If I respond with hatred, I will only continue what killed my child."
That takes incredible strength.
Incredible. And the author notes you could see it in his eyes. The suffering was there, obviously, but also this undeniable inner strength.
Yeah.
A purity, a soul that hadn't been crushed by hate.
That's a living example of what we're talking about.
A testament to that power of inner transformation, even facing the absolute worst.
It really shows that terrorism, viewed this way, can't ultimately be beaten just by external force.
The deepest win has to come from inside.
A change in attitude, deep in the human heart. It forces us to ask not just how do we stop terrorism, but
How do we stop the terror, the capacity for hate inside ourselves?
it flips the whole script.
And this idea, it's captured in this metaphor the Source uses. Inside each of us, there's this tiny seed.
A seed.
Yeah. And it can grow into either like rampant hatred or boundless compassion.
And it depends on what we nurture.
Exactly. If we suppress our pain, if we refuse to look at it, to transform that anger and fear into love, into understanding, we don't just suffer it, we become its prisoner.
And if enough of us are prisoners to our inner pain,
Then it's hardly surprising that our collective reality reflects that, right? It becomes harder, more violent, mirroring that inner imprisonment.
okay, this is where it gets even more fascinating for me. The Source connects this ancient spiritual idea to modern physics.
Yes, which really helps bridge that gap, I think, between the maybe esoteric sounding stuff and something more tangible.
How does it connect?
It uses the concept that everything is energy. Our thoughts, our feelings, our words, it all radiates outwards as vibrations.
Okay, like frequencies.
Kind of. So if we're constantly putting out fear, anger, judgment, we're actively strengthening the very frequency, the energetic environment where terrorism can take root and grow.
But the flip side,
The flip side is, if we consciously choose to send out love, even just to one person, in one small moment, we are fundamentally changing the quality of that whole global energetic field.
wow, just one thought of love.
That's the potential. And because, as the Source really emphasizes, consciousness doesn't have borders.
Right.
The effect of that loving intention, that different vibration, could potentially reach way beyond just our immediate surroundings.
It could touch someone far away.
Maybe subtly influence someone thousands of miles away who's maybe contemplating violence. Just shift the collective field enough to open up a different possibility.
That raises a huge question, doesn't it?
It does. If our inner state, our personal vibration, can have these ripple effects, how much responsibility do we actually carry for the state of the world?
Oh, yeah, it's a heavy thought, but also kind of empowering.
Both, I think. Definitely both.
That's profound. But, okay, here comes the really hard part, right, as the Source points out.
What's that?
To actually cultivate that kind of transformative love, it requires a major sacrifice of the ego.
Ah, yes, the ego.
And that's, let's be honest, really tough for most of us. Giving up that feeling that I am right, that I know who's guilty, that I'm good and they are bad.
It's so tempting to fall into that, isn't it? Especially when things seem so black and white.
Our ego loves being right, loves assigning blame.
And taking this intensely personal challenge, this ego thing, and applying it globally, the Source drills down on it.
What does it mean on a bigger scale?
It clarifies, look, this isn't about being weak or just passively accepting injustice. Not at all.
It's more active than that.
Much more. It's about actively letting go of that deep need to be right, to cling to being the victim, or to keep pointing fingers.
It's a choice.
A powerful choice to prioritize connection, understanding, maybe even healing over being justified or getting retribution.
And this leads to something about the lines blurring.
Yes, between victim and perpetrator. The Source suggests that deep down, spiritually speaking, that line isn't always as sharp as we think.
How so?
Who is a terrorist, really? Maybe, the Source suggests, it's someone who was once themselves a profound victim of hatred, rejection, humiliation.
And because that pain wasn't transformed.
They became an instrument of the same kind of suffering they endured. It connects right back to that law of cause and effect.
Oh, right, the karmic idea. If inner pain, ours or collective, isn't turned into love, forgiveness, understanding.
It just plants the seeds for new pain, new violence, new cycles of suffering.
And maybe that's why fighting terrorism feels so impossible sometimes. Because changing systems, borders, armies, it's all external.
Exactly. It doesn't get to the root.
What's needed, what this deep dive argues, is the only real long-term solution is changing human hearts.
And changing hearts. Well, anyone who's tried to change themselves knows.
That's the hardest job there is,
Mm-hmm.
possibly the most profound, but definitely the hardest.
To bring it back down to the micro level again, the author shares another really personal story
Okay.
about this heated argument they had with someone close, full of anger, blame, that desperate need to be right.
We've all been there.
Right. And guess what? This inner conflict showed up as physical illness again, just like the fever story.
Wow. Consistent pattern.
It was only when they managed to pause, to admit, even just internally, hang on, maybe I'm the one who's wrong here, or maybe it doesn't even matter who's right. Maybe what matters is if I can love and understand.
And the physical pain eased.
Started to subside. And they realized right then that this tiny personal fight was like a perfect miniature version of what happens globally.
If everyone just digs in, holds on to their own absolute truth, refuses to forgive or let go of being right,
Then wars, conflicts, attacks, they'll just keep going, endlessly repeating the same pattern.
So it really boils down to this.
Yeah.
The source is saying it's not actually harder to fight terrorism itself.
It's harder to fight your own pride, your own ego, your insistence on being right.
And yet, paradoxically, that's the only way forward.
That's what's presented. It even brings in sacred texts, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth.
But redefines meek.
Exactly. Not as weakness, not letting people walk all over you, but as profound inner strength.
Like having power, but choosing humility.
Possessing power, maybe even the capacity for anger or revenge, but choosing to wield it gently, with humility, with love.
That's a very different kind of power.
And a really striking point the source makes ties into this. The only real power that can truly overcome violence, break these old cycles, is purity of heart.
Purity of heart. Not weapons, not politics, not money.
No, it's the quiet, often dismissed power of self-sacrifice, inner change, unconditional love.
Which, as we've been exploring, just completely flips our usual understanding of what strength or effectiveness means when tackling these huge global problems.
It's a total paradigm shift, isn't it?
Completely. So now, when the author hears about another attack, another tragedy, their first internal question isn't the old one.
Not why them or whose fault is this?
No. Instead, they look inward and ask, okay, what in me needs to change? What inner work do I need to do so that this world becomes less of a breeding ground for hate, for fear, for violence?
That's a radical shift from blame to internal accountability, agency almost.
Yeah. And they admit, look, my individual answer isn't going to change history overnight.
Of course not.
But they really believe every single thought of love, every act of genuine forgiveness, every moment we cultivate humility, no matter how tiny it seems,
It sends out a new vibration.
changes the collective field for everyone.
And if the fight against terrorism does seem to be getting harder, as the world seems to be showing us.
Maybe it's because the external struggle alone just isn't enough. It can never be enough.
Yeah. Maybe it's pushing us to realize our outward battles are just reflections of these deeper, untransformed inner conflicts.
And that inner work, hard as it is, uncomfortable as it is
Paradoxically the only path that can really free us, individually and collectively, from these destructive cycles.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for us, for you listening right now? This deep dive, it's offered this really powerful, introspective, honestly pretty challenging answer to why fighting terrorism feels so difficult, like pushing a boulder uphill. It suggests the real struggle isn't primarily against some enemy out there. It's that it's harder to fight our own pride, our own anger, our own inner darkness than any external foe.
The source really challenges us, doesn't it? To see that external action, however necessary it might seem, is never the whole story. It's never enough by itself.
Never enough on its own.
And connecting that to the bigger picture, the idea is the more we as individuals can actually do the work, transforming our own pain, anger, fear, consciously turning it into love, compassion, humility.
The less fuel there is for violence.
Exactly. The less energetic space there is for violence and hatred to thrive in our collective consciousness. It really underlines that law of cause and effect we talked about.
Untransformed pain just creates more pain.
It becomes the seed of the next conflict, the next suffering, which really raises a vital question for all of us, doesn't it?
And the source isn't asking for some huge, impossible gesture, is it?
No, not at all.
It suggests even small steps count. Like Forgiving one injustice in your own life,
Ah,
or consciously changing one thought from judgment to understanding.
we're just showing kindness when it would be easier to be harsh.
Each one is a step on this path. It's about consistently, consciously cultivating that purity of heart over the power of weapons.
Believing that over time, that can genuinely change the world.
So if the world, with all its turmoil, is maybe pushing us, urging us to finally get that the real fight against terror, against hate, against division doesn't start out there,
But starts deep inside each and every one of us.
then the final thought is this.
What tangible interchange, maybe even a tiny one, can you commit to today, right now, to start contributing to a different kind of consciousness field? One where love, compassion, understanding, not fear and anger, becomes the dominant vibration.